Man, I don't know, ProofBlock.
What's wrong, Reister?
I've got to make this video, but I really don't want to do the voiceover for it.
Why not get someone else to do it for you?
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
Reister?
I've got to go find someone else to do it for me.
Can you hear me?
Someone who also makes analytical Smash content and has a channel the same relative size as mine. I'll be right back.
Did he just leave? I'm right here. It sounds like he just figured out what free labor is.
Super Smash Con 2023 has already gotten fully underway with side brackets and all sorts of events, which means that this is our last chance to theorize about who will take it all and who could potentially make a huge run to top 8. To help me out today, I've got a friend here with me today who you'll hear from later, but first, I'm going to go ahead and start off today's video by talking about our top 8 seeds. First off, big thanks to RB Darknut staff for providing this image of the SmashCon 2023 seeding. The seeding is as you see here, except that Spargo and Acola have been swapped for reasons we'll cover later. Our 7th place seeds are Riddles and Shuton. Riddles is a bit of an interesting pick. With a 5th place finish at Gommel 2023 and a 2nd place finish at CEO 2023, no one would argue that Riddles isn't a top 8 threat. But with a lot of his attention on Street Fighter 6 recently, it's interesting to see if Riddles can keep up with such a stacked tourney. Some people would claim that Shuton is actually underseeded, and it's easy to see their reasoning. With strong finishes in the past few months, notably 3rd at Smash Factor X, it's clear as day that Shuton is emerging as this season's strongest Japanese competitor, not named Acola or Mia. That being said, Shuton is the highest seeded Japanese player not named Acola or Mia, with the next highest Japanese seed being Gact, the 14th seed, followed by Ken, the 18th, Neo, the 28th, Noi, the 31st, and Lai, the 63rd, being all of the Japanese players in top 64 seeding, as well as Acola and Mia, of course. Our 5th place seeds for this tournament are Light and Tweak. These are interesting picks as well, as both of these players are coming off of 7th at Gommel 2023, but for one of these players, I see potential for growth, and for the other, I see potential for a fall. Light is the player I can see matching or outplacing their seed. Light's been talking a big game on Twitter about experimenting on how to fight Spargo, saying that it's over for him once Light gets to play him more than once or twice a month. For Tweak, I actually think Tweak has the potential to underperform this tourney, with underplacements at Tweak's last few majors and tendinitis in his hands that is no fault of Tweak's, but as far as I understand it, Tweak doesn't really have a plan to deal with the hand issues in any way other than just dealing with it. If the hand issues persist with no real game plan, I see Tweak placing lower and lower with each passing major as consistent performances become physically painful. Our 4th place seed is Mia, and in fact, let's just reveal all of our top 4 seeds as Mia, Sonics, Acola, and then Spargo, and talk about them all at once. This order makes a lot of sense, but the interesting thing about this is the fact that Mia is seeded to face Spargo in winner's semis, which is the reason that Spargo was moved up to the 1 seed instead of Acola. This is because before, it was seeded that Mia and Acola would fight in semis, with the other side of semis being Spargo versus Sonics. But since it was rightfully and frequently pointed out that we've seen that matchup so many times, Spargo and Acola's seeds were swapped, meaning that our new seeded semis is Mia versus Spargo and Sonics versus Acola. This is far better, as we've rarely seen these matchups, if ever, before. Sure, Spargo has beaten Acola many times and has beaten Sonics, but could Spargo beat Mia's Game & Watch? What about Acola? Sure, Acola is one of the 2 undisputed best candidates for best in the world right now, but in a matchup as terrible as Sonic versus Steve, will Acola be able to keep up? Will he go Aegis instead? There's a lot of room for speculation, and there's no one more excited for it than I am. That's going to wrap up our section about top 8 seeds. Now we're going to get into some of the international threats outside of the top 64 seeds and organize it by region. Let's first start off with North America. First off, we have the 9th, 10th, and 11th seeds in Zamba, Kurama, and Dabuz, respectively. All 3 of these players have great showings, with Kurama getting 7th at Crown the 3rd and 9th at Gommel 2023, Dabuz getting 1st at CEO 2023, and Zamba getting top 8 in just about every major he's attended recently, with the notable exception of Smash Factor X. Realistically, the player here with the highest chance of making top 8 is, of course, Zamba. Zamba is seeded to lose to Shuton and Riddles for 9th place, but if you remember, the last time that Zamba fought both of these players ended in a Zamba victory, with Zamba defeating Shuton at Crown the 3rd and Riddles at Gommel 2023. Not only that, but if Zamba defeated Shuton, he'd have to face off against Spargo, who he also defeated the last time they fought at Gommel 2023, with Zamba dispatching the Spargo Aegis, showing off how much he's grown in that particular matchup. Zamba could realistically make top 8 on winner's side, where he'd have to face Mia in Rob Game & Watch, a matchup that Zamba is significantly less confident in, as the last time Zamba faced Mia was at Battle of BC5, where Zamba tried going Lucina. Other notable NA contenders include Onin, who won SmashCon last year, Mudace, who recently won Patchwork and can make top 8 as long as their hands are working, and Apollo Kage, who will be going on a break from competing after SmashCon, so may decide to go out with a bang. Since I already mentioned all the Japanese top 64 seeds, I don't have much to add there, except to reiterate that Japan is the one region in the world where anyone can beat anyone at any time, so don't be surprised if quite literally any Japanese player in the top 64 makes a huge run. But now let's take a trip over to Europe, the region that you know I love to talk about. The highest seeded European is Siski, the 12th seed, but with Siski's recent top 8 finish at Smash Factor X, it's quite possible for Siski to make a good run. However, to make top 8 from losers, Siski would have to defeat Gact and Light, two pretty annoying matchups for Samus on paper. To make top 8 from winners though, Siski would have to defeat Sonics and Tweak, and while Siski can definitely beat Tweak, the main question for Siski will be if he can get to Tweak at all. The only Mexican player seeded in top 64 other than Spargo is SkyJ. SkyJ is a player that's seen less than optimal placements after Smash Summit 6, but SkyJ's volatility may favor them at Smash Factor. After all, SkyJ is seeded to fight Onin Steve, which, okay, may not be the best matchup, but SkyJ's pulled off the impossible before. We only have a few more Europeans in top 64 seeding, those being Andres FN, hot off a 3rd place finish at Dos Ducel 2023, Roflo, France's premier Palumane, Tarek, one of the best in Germany and perhaps the best Greninja in the world, and Madzai, who got 2nd at the European coin box and who's traveling to NA to compete for one of the first time, so it'll be exciting to see how they perform. Lastly, there are so many American players in the top 64 seeds, all of whom have a great chance of making big runs, but I want to take a moment and highlight the Steves of the world right now. With Steve banned in so many places, Steve mains are sure taking advantage of his unbanned status at SmashCon 2023. There are 8 Steve mains in top 64 seeds, the lists from highest seed to lowest seed being Akola, Onin, Didi, Jake, Riku, Syrup, and Soar. I wonder how many upset tweets will be caused by these 8 players. Place your bets in the comments. And with that, I'm actually going to take a break from talking for right now, as I'm going to pass it off to my fellow YouTuber, content creator, and pal, ProofBlock. Off to you, ProofBlock.
Since this video is coming out so close to SmashCon, the SmashCon pre-local has already taken place, so I'm going to be talking about the results of that pre-local and what we can glean from it. The majority of the top 8 seeds for SmashCon were not in attendance. This is a great opportunity to see how well some of the lower seeded players can do. Let's get right into it. Now, the first thing that I want to bring up is the fact that Kansas City Pac-Man main Isaiah actually got 9th, only losing in a Game 3 to Lucky and in a 2-0 to Nail, and notably defeated Caden the Ridley in a 2-0, a player Reister covered in his DreamHack Dallas 2023 video. This wasn't part of the original script, but Reister really wanted to mention a Kansas City player in a video again and scribbled this all over my script in a purple crayon, so let's just roll with it. Getting back on track and circling back to Neo, who we briefly mentioned earlier, the Japanese corn sensation, who ended up getting 7th place, losing to Peanut, who would then go on to lose to Didi. On the other side of losers bracket, Tarek would lose in a Game 5 set to Super Big Mario fan, the, you guessed it, Kazuya main, who would also lose to Didi, which means that we gotta talk about Didi, because this Steve PT co-main is going to be a menace at SmashCon if this pre-local says anything. Didi lost to Ken in the winners bracket, going down and getting the 2 wins that we mentioned earlier before getting the run back versus Ken in losers finals in another Game 5 set, and then proceeded to go Game 10 with Shutone, losing that decisive Game 10 to get 2nd place. This is the 7th seed of SmashCon, by the way, going Game 10 with Didi. Didi has the potential to go crazy at SmashCon and turn into another Momocon, which depending on who you are, could be a great thing or a terrible thing. Other notable placements include Ken and Shutone, who got 3rd and 1st respectively, as well as Lucky the Plant player, who ended up getting 9th, beating Ogi and Madzai from France. Speaking of Europe, you also had Tarek, who beat Neo 2-1 and went Game 5 versus Shutone. And that's all for my segment today. Since we have no other special guests, I'm going to be passing it back to RisterMice, but before I do go, I want to give a shout out to Reister for having me on, and if you enjoyed what I had to say, or for that matter, what anyone had to say at any point in the video, please leave a sub down below. Back to you, Reister.
Thanks, ProofBlock. Super SmashCon 2023 is shaping up to be one of the most exciting tourneys of the year, with tons of top players and matchups we've never seen before, promising an exciting top 8. If you want to see that video on Monday when it comes out, be sure to subscribe. And with that out of the way, that's going to be it for today's video. Before I go, shout out to my patrons Seth Laster and FireScore333, and my YouTube member Stormtrooper, Locosoko, Mattoon, Robopoke, and my Tier 2 member Mike G. This weekend, don't miss the shorts and streams that I produce, and until then, I've been RisterMice, and thank you all so much for watching.